What's up, guys? It's Patrick from Purple Park Studios. Today we're going to be checking out particle systems in Blender. There's a lot of cool things you can do with particle systems. As you can see here, these are just a few different things that I've been using particle systems for in my projects. But let's jump in and just take a look at how to set up a particle system and then how to manipulate that to do essentially whatever it is you want it to do. Alright, so first I'm going to hit Shift A and I'm just going to add in a mesh. You can add in whatever kind of mesh you want. I'm going to add in a torus here for right now. And I'm going to hit R, X, and 90, and then hit 1 to go into front view, just so that it's upright and not laying flat on the ground. I'm going to select my mesh, right-click, and hit Shade Smooth, and I might just scale it up a little bit here. Alright, so in order to just create a particle system, I'm going to select my mesh here, and go to the Particle Properties tab and left click it. I'm going to go up to this plus icon here and I'm going to left click the plus icon. And now if I hit play, you'll see there's a bunch of particles and they're just kind of falling down as gravity's just pulling them down. So I'll go back to the start here. Now in order to get these particles to not just be falling straight down, there's a few things we can do. If you scroll down here, and under this velocity section here, if you just left click the down arrow, if it's not open, it should open up for you. Make sure that normal is just set it to 0 right there. And now if you hit play, they're still falling down. So what you can do, scroll down here under field weights. If that's not open, you can select field weights and take the gravity and drag it all the way down. Now if we hit play, we can see the particles start appearing, but they're just stuck to that one spot. So scroll back up here under normal, and here you can start playing with the rate at which they will come off of the torus, if that makes sense. So I'm going to left click and select here and then hit 1 and enter. And now if I go to the beginning and hit play, you can see that the particles are floating off into the air. Now you can see here that they're disappearing quickly. We can change the lifetime of the particles by scrolling up. And lifetime right now they're set to 50 frames. So if I hit play, you'll see that about 50 frames here, the particles start dying off every 50 frames. So I'll go back to the beginning here. And I'll change this lifetime for now to 200. And you can see the frame start for the particle system to start happening is set to 1, and it's going to end at 200. Now I have it down here, start frame for the duration of the animation from 1 to 250. So if I change this end up here to 250, now the simulation will run from 1 to 250 frames. So if I hit play, you can see that the particles are staying alive a lot longer as I scroll out here. And that's what we want. And around frame 200, some of them are going to start dying off there. And then the whole thing just starts over again at 0. Another thing you can do is you can also change the number of particles. This tab up here, so maybe I want to do 20,000. The higher you go, this can slow down your computer if you're on a slower computer or laptop, but we'll check it out with 20,000 here. So you can see that's like an insane amount of particles. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and select the torus here and just hit the minus icon there to get rid of the particle system. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to select the torus and just hit X and delete it altogether. So now that we know a little bit about how to set up a basic particle system, let's go ahead and try and make a cool little animation here using the particle system. Just so we can, start to learn some different techniques on how to manipulate particle systems. So go ahead and hit Shift A, and we're going to add in text. Then hit R, X, and 90 just to straighten the text out. And I'm going to right click and set the origin to geometry. And then I'm going to right click and hit Snap Selection to Cursor. And that'll just kind of center it up there for now. It's going to move it up here. Roughly place it right above the X-axis there. So in order to change text, if you don't know how, you can hit Tab, and then the backspace will allow you to start deleting the text, and you can go ahead and type in whatever you want. I'm going to type in Purple Park Studios. And then you can hit Tab to go out of that. Going to right click and hit Snap Selection, or I'm sorry, I'm going to right click and hit Set Origin to Geometry, and then I'll just eye this up here and drag it to the center there. And I'll move it up a little bit. Now if you want to, I'm going to leave the text as is, but if you want to change the text, you can select this little A here, the Object Data Properties, and then you can go down to Font, and then by clicking this folder icon here, it'll allow you to go through a bunch of different folders and select the text. Now this isn't really a text tutorial. I'm just using this for our animation. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click and hit Convert to Mesh. And then I'm going to hit Tab, A to select everything, E to extrude, and then Y along the Y-axis, and just pull it back just a little bit there to thicken it out. And then I'm going to hit A to select everything, M, and hit by distance. And it didn't remove any vertices, but as you can see here, this geometry is super terrible. But it'll work for what we're doing here. So then I'm going to right click and hit Shade Smooth, and go down to the Object Data Properties, left click down where it says Normals, and just hit Auto Smooth. All right, so now we have our text. I'm going to select our text, and we'll go here to Look Dev Mode. And I'm just going to go under the Material Properties and hit New, and we're just going to give this a super basic material. We'll just start by turning the metallic up, and the roughness will set to about 0.2, and the color we'll just make it, I guess we'll make it a purple color. That would kind of make sense for right now. And we'll brighten it up a little bit. All right. So now we're going to add in the particle system here. So I'm going to right click on my mesh and go to the particle properties and hit the plus icon for new. And then we're just going to scroll out here. And before we do anything else, we're going to hit Shift A, and we're going to add in a UV sphere, and we're going to right click and hit Shade Smooth. Scale it down, and then just drag it out of the way here. Scale that down. So now I'll click back on my mesh, and I'll go down, before I mess with any of the settings here in the particle settings here, we'll go all the way down to under Render, and you can just, again, if it's not open for you, left click that little arrow there, and we'll change it from Render as Halo to Object. And then what I'm going to do is select the eyedropper here and go up and hit Sphere. You could also select the eyedropper and, I'll do it this way by select the eyedropper and just click the object that you want if you have a bunch of objects in your scene. So what this is going to do is it's going to render the particle system as a sphere. And you could use a cube, you could use a model, anything you want. That's what's going to be emitting from the mesh. So if I hit play, they're just falling out super quick, and that's not what we want. So what we'll do is we'll scroll down here and make sure that gravity is turned off under force field settings. Or I'm sorry, field weights. Turn the gravity off to 0. Scroll up here, and under render, we're going to drag the scale randomness up a bit and maybe increase the scale size of these particles just so we can see them here to about 0.12. So now if I go back to the beginning of my animation and hit play, you can see that the particles are starting to float off. And it's looking kind of cool, but we kind of want it a little bit more controlled here. So I'm going to go and turn this the normals to 0.1 or 0.01, I'm sorry, hit enter. Now if I hit play, they're just stuck to the mesh. So we can get this going a little bit faster maybe. Maybe we'll just try 0.1. We're getting somewhere there. I do want to increase the lifetime here to about 200 again. And we'll set the frame end to 250. Go back to the beginning here and hit play. We can actually start this, start the entire simulation at 0 frames. Kind of a cool effect there. I think if you were going to have put a camera on this, you might want to change the scale down to about 0.04, and then just go up here and we can try increasing the number to, we'll say, try 20,000. It's looking kind of neat there. All right, so now what we can do is if we want to give these particles a texture, what we'll do is go up here to the render properties, and if bloom's not checked on, just check on bloom there. And then we'll go over to that sphere that we added in earlier, and we'll just select that. And what we'll do is we'll go down to the material properties down here and just select new. And we're going to change this principal BSDF to an emission. And I want to make this maybe like a yellowish color here. And just turn the strength up to something like 11 for now. So it's kind of glowing there. And this might be too much, but we'll play with this later. So we can go over here up top to rendered mode here and just go to the world settings here and drag the color all the way down to, the strength down to 0. Then hit Shift A and we'll just add in a point light, drag that up. And we can go to the little light properties here and change the power to something like 2000. Drag that down a little bit. Maybe try something like 20,000. Just so we can kind of see it a little bit there. And now if we hit play, that's cool, but that's like a little excessive and hard to see the logo here. So change it to sun, gives a little bit of a shimmer there. And then if I go back to my particle settings here, I'm just going to change this to something like 4,000 for now, because the 20,000 is a little extreme. So now if I hit play, this kind of adds a nice little magical touch, for some logo animation or something. And you could go ahead and animate the logo spinning around or animate some camera movements around the logo, whatever you want to do. Don't forget to go back up to your render properties here and hit ambient occlusion and screen space reflections. And I'm using the Eevee render engine here. So I hope this tutorial was helpful, guys. I hope you learned something, an intro to particle systems, and just one small way that you could, utilize and use them. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next tutorial.